Hey everyone, we're here today with John Templeton. He's a high performance mindset coach. I'm super excited because we're going to be having a high end conversation just about anything that comes up today and everything that John's been learning and all the people he's been talking with over the last couple of years and especially through this period as well. So thanks so much for joining us, John.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you, man. Like what's your story? Where'd you get to you are today?
Yeah, I guess I'll start from today and then maybe go back, and that should give people some context to like what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, cool.
So ultimately, I'm a coach. I'm a coach in the mindset space, and I help people from all walks of life perform higher. So let me give you some examples. I worked with the Special Forces. That was when my coaching first started. That I was in the military, and then I worked with the Special Forces, and I left from there. I've worked with celebrities, like world famous celebrities that you will know for sure, professional football teams, Olympic athletes, and it's literally diving in for them to perform better. And so for anyone watching, like whatever you're doing now, let me tell you this, like your performance, your success in your career and your relationship and anything, your health is going to come down to your mindset. And I realized that when I was training athletes. I was physical training them, and I was like, the reason they're not performing, it's not the training program, it's not the equipment, it's what's going on in between their ears. Yeah. And that's when I decided to be like, I'm going to study the mind. And so I studied hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and a few other things as well. Meditation, I got into meditation at a very deep level. And I started to get even better results with the people I worked with, fitness-wise, just by changing their mindset. And so I realized that the whole world needs this. It doesn't matter if you're an electrician or, you're the Queen of England. Shift the mindset, the results shift with it.
Yeah, totally, man. Fully believe in everything you just said there. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the moment through this period to help people in their mindset. There's obviously a lot of fear. There's a lot of, anxiety happening at the moment. So mindset here is where we've got to stay strong. So what are some things that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, so for my clients, I'll be honest, a lot of my clients are high functioning. So they're not going into fear because they've been doing this. So my membership program is 12 months long. And so I've been working with people for quite a while. So they're not going into fear naturally. Naturally, people that are high functioning are looking at this as an opportunity to grow, to become more, to learn a new skill. And that's really the difference between someone who's going to make, the most out of this and someone who's going to let this beat them. And if we look one step further, it's like all this is another obstacle. It's no different. The scale's bigger, but it's no different to, trying a new business venture that fails and you lose your money. Like it's no different. It's just the media's blowing this whole thing up way bigger than it needs to be, and people are freaking out. So there's a principle behind every success or failure, and going into a fear response by principle is not effective. It's not an effective way to be in your relationship or your marriage. It's not an effective way to do business. It's naturally unhealthy because fear, cortisol drops into your body, which causes literally your cells to contract, and there'll be less oxygenation in your cells, and you're literally going to start killing organs in your body by being in a fear state. So the underlying principle is one of courage, one of opportunity, one of optimism versus one of pessimism, one of fear, one of doubt. And so if any of my crew shift into that fear response, which no one has yet, but I imagine a lot of people are, it's a level of consciousness within the mind. It's our ability to zoom right out and go like, in 5 years, is what's causing me fear now going to be a problem? And the answer is no. And it's like, well, cool. Let's get through today. I would say the key words to anybody who's experiencing fear is let go. Let go. Because the fear is a response to an expectation. It's like, it shouldn't be this way, or I shouldn't have been fired, or, I should have more money, or, I can't afford to feed people. If you're not going to die, and you're not, then let go of whatever expectation is causing you to react and be triggered in this way. And yes, your quality of life might drop. Let go of the expectation that it should be any different. You know, being in the military helped me a lot because I can live in a bush, in the dirt. I can eat one meal a day of baked beans, and like, that's okay. I'm okay with that life. If all of my wealth got taken from me now, it's like, that's okay. And so I think the ability to let go of all expectations, to let go of our self-identity, to let go of an image of who we think we are and that we deserve better, just let it all go, and you'll start to feel much better inside yourself. That would be the first thing.
Yeah. So I personally know when I let go of things that I'm thinking I need to be in the future or who I need to become, that's when I feel, you know, at peace and I actually perform better as well. So yeah, totally resonate with that. So tell us a little bit, how did you get into this? Like what, you know, let's go right back to maybe high school or whenever you feel like that was the time, that's the trigger point. I was like, I'm going to be a high performer. I'm going to function better than ever. I'm going to beat that person. I'm going to beat myself. I'm going to, you know, keep pushing. Not going to let myself stay stagnant. What got you into that? What's some things that you feel like?
Yeah, for sure. I can nail this. So like as we grow up between the age of about 2 and 7, we're in what's called an imprinting phase. It's when our brain is in a theta brainwave, which absorbs. So before that, we're in a delta brainwave, which is like unconscious. We're sleeping mainly, as you know, like a toddler. And then we go into this theta brainwave. And during that time, people's personalities are formed by how they received love or how they were accepted. And even as you get older and go through school, a lot of people will behave in order to become accepted. And so for me, when I was younger, I played football and I was good. And anytime I built something or anytime I succeeded at sport, I got my parents' love. Now, to contrast that, some people are loved and respected by their parents when they're quiet. You know, be quiet. Dad's busy, mum's busy, okay. Or whatever way you were rewarded, that's probably a better word, whatever way you were rewarded taught you a personality trait. And so I became a high achiever young. I didn't realize it then, but I just naturally, to get loved, to get accepted, it was like I had to win. I had to be better than. And that carried on through sports. And also when I was around 13, I got involved with the drugs and even alcohol scene. And even then, I wanted to be the best. So I would try and take more drugs than someone else. I would try and drink more than someone else. I had to be the guy that would do an all-nighter. You know, when everyone else was getting tired, it would be like, weakness, I'll keep going, you know. And that personality trait has never really left through the military. It was the same thing that drove me. A course. I would be on a course, first aid course, and you were graded. And I remember, like, I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be number one on my navigation course, number one on my reconnaissance course, number one. And then in sports, I started bodybuilding and I won New Zealand nationals. CrossFit, and I didn't win actually at CrossFit, but I competed at an extremely high level. And then I went on to set a Guinness World Record. So it's always been winning. It's been a value of mine. So I don't know if anyone listening understands how values are formed, what they are, how they affect your decision making and your personality. But winning was a value for me. Competition was a value for me. And because it was so important to me to win, it fired up intensity within myself.
It's so weird to feel like I'm talking to myself here. So I'll share a story about me and we can see how obvious it is that we're pretty much the same person. So I agree with the same thing. Like my parents, I was born 10 years after my youngest sister. My eldest sister's 18 years, so I've got 4 siblings. So I was 10, 11, 15 and 18 years older than me. So when I was born 10 years after my youngest, Mum used to say in front of me to her friends and people she met, he's born for a reason, he's born for a reason. So in my head, I was like, I have to win, I have to be the best at everything. So I was the same thing, man. Like everything I did, I had to win. And when I was in year 6, I remember coming 4th in my swimming race. And I said, why did I come 4th? And she said, if you want to win, you're going to have to train all the time. And so I went and trained 3 days a week all year through year 6 and came back in year 7, won every swimming race, in school, into school, and then all the running races and every race after that, because I'd trained my body in year 6 to be less high performer. But same thing with the drugs and alcohol. So I had to at the best of that, and I had to be best at everything I had to do. But
that's why you're leading now. That's why you've got this this podcast, this interview, because you're a high achiever. You want to keep growing, and this is how you're doing it now.
Yeah, man. So yeah, excited to be talking to you. So I'd love to dive into some of our challenges that we have with our personality as well at some point through this conversation, because obviously putting that much pressure on ourselves has its downfall as well, and ways to navigate that.
Do you want to turn this into a coaching session for you?
No, not at all.
Okay. So hit me. What's like a problem that you find arises, and anyone listening, if you're in the same boat, we can tackle it now. And
yeah, if you want. Yeah, sounds good. Cool. All right. Well, for me, because I have that mindset of always pushing hard, I've got a family now, so it became really difficult for me when I had our first kid. So as soon as we had our first kid, I no longer was independent. I had to be dependent. Like, people were dependent on me. So I had to work within a partnership for the first time. Whereas before, it's like, if I wanted to train, 25 hours a week, I would train 25 hours a week to become the best at sport or whatever it was, or working 80-hour weeks to be the best, in my business or whatever. So I think for me, it was never about beating other people. It was being, knowing that I had done the best within myself as well. So for, when I had our daughter, that was when I realized now I have to try and balance everything. And that's when I found it really challenging to be able to switch off when I'm in this hyper-focused mode. So still challenged with it now. Like, I still will get into this hyper-focused point where I'm super excited about something, and I'll work like all the time. Like, my mind won't switch off it. But then to be able to finish my day at work and be able to go like, hey kids, how's it going? Like, and then to be in, dad mode and fully switched into their attention and loving them and not being at work anymore. So that's probably the biggest thing that I still work on a regular basis. So, I don't know.
What would you say to anyone who is struggling with the same thing? Like, what's been your saving grace?
It's creating triggers and habits around, like, switching off. So for me, it's when I leave my office and my phone stays in my office or in my car away from me. So if the phone's not on me, I can't be just sucked into work. Because if I check any analytics, or if I check a report or an email or anything and I see there's a problem, I'm the type of I've got to fix this now. But as soon as I'm like, I've got to fix this now, I'm no longer with my kids. So it's better for me to wait till tomorrow and fix it then, because really 12 hours isn't really going to make that big of a difference when it gets fixed. So for me, from all of my work that I've done, being able to leave that there and move away and have a trigger like that, it's like the phone's in the office and I have to actually walk to the office to check something, has been a massive benefit for me.
Yeah, cool. Sweet, I think you just nailed it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like the ability to put on different hats, and it's hard. And the reason I am not in a relationship and have kids now, because it's going to be hard, because we all have 24 hours in a day, and if you're so focused on that one thing, and all of a sudden you got to split it, it's like tearing part of you away from this mission that you're on, and so that's a big reason at the moment why I don't, because I would love kids. Like, knowing how to program a kid's mind, this might sound a bit crazy, but like, I really believe that through love and through the correct upbringing, you can really give someone the tools to have an incredible life. And I'm excited to do that, to my offspring one day, but today's not the day.
Yeah, totally.
The other thing I was going to say is that, do you find sometimes when you spend time with your kids or your family, it actually rejuvenates you, and you come back to your work task with like fresh eyes?
Yep, as long as I'm not partially distracted throughout that process. So if I have my phone available and I'm checking it while I'm there, I'm not actually there. So for me, like the reason I wanted to build a business and be financially free as young as possible, like my goal was by 27, I want to build a business that runs by itself and I don't have to work in it, so I can spend 100% of time with my kids. That was my goal. I didn't get it by 27 because I partied too hard when I was like 22 and to 25. But then by 29, I had achieved that. So I didn't have to work anymore. I didn't have to do any work. So I could be available. But the thing was, I was so passionate about my work that I still worked so hard on it. So I had to, through discipline and through triggers and routine and habit, set these things and journal regularly and make sure that I'm aware of what's happening in my mind. Put the phone down and be there with my kids. Now, if I do that, I'm fully with them. I'm fully present. The reason I wanted to build that business so I could be financially free is because my dad always did fly in, fly out. He was away for like 4 weeks at a time, and I felt like he wasn't always there. But then I realized, hey, I'm here every single day, but I'm not really there. Like my mind's not with the kids. So I'm here, but I'm thinking about, like I'm playing with a baby and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I was like thinking business, or like achievement, whatever. And I wasn't actually there with them. So I don't feel rejuvenated when I'm like that. But as soon as I be super strict with myself and just be like, phone is bad, checking in is bad during family time, I'm fully there with my kids and I'm a big kid. Like it's the best fun, man. And we're on the scooters and we're mucking around and wrestling, and that's where you come back rejuvenated for work the next day.
Yeah, awesome, dude. That's a big thing I find. Like, I think a lot of people are almost scared to let go of their work or that focus, and they hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle, and almost that wears them down, as opposed to, hustle for the day and then go to the beach or go and do what you love doing, play sports. And people are like, no, I should be working. And sometimes they get guilty if they're not working. And the truth is that sometimes these distractions actually rejuvenate us to be able to be more efficient when we're working, even though there's a shorter period of time at work, way more efficient.
Yeah, no, totally. I think also with what you're just saying there, when I realized that I needed to be with my kids and I needed to switch off and I have that rest, that rest from the work. And you would understand in athletic performance and probably any mindset stuff, to have rest is like one of the most important things so you can heal. So those people that feel like they need to work 80 hours a week, you're not getting rest. So you're not healing and you're just driving yourself into the ground. So I definitely, experienced that as well. So, I think people need to be aware of giving themselves rest and rejuvenation.
Yeah, for sure. It's yin and yang.
Yeah.
You physically cannot just go. Something will break at some point. And I think every entrepreneur learns sooner or later that you need like self-love time. You need recovery time. You need to like fill your cup up again before you start pouring it into the business.
Man, I'm excited to find out more about the people that you've worked with and some of the things that they had to go through, like some of the journeys. That's a little bit about what I'd done, but what are some other people that you've worked with and what, who they were and who they've become as a result of some of these principles, habits, routines, things that, you work with your clients on to achieve a state of high performance?
So, there's been a few people. There's two things I'll touch on here. There's one girl I worked with. She was a professional athlete. She is an Olympian, and her career for the last 2 years was terrible. She got dropped from the national team, so she lost her contract with the national team. I won't say her name, but she lost her contract with the national team, so she wasn't getting an income. She still played the sport, but it was just she was playing at like 50% capacity. And what had happened was when the main trigger for this was like a relationship breakup, okay? And she went into a hole. And for 2 years, just tried and tried and tried. And it's like an invisible force that holds us down. When we have trauma, okay, call it trauma, which is like an emotional event that's happened to us in the past that we haven't closed off the loop. You know, we sweeping it under the rug and pretending it isn't there doesn't work. Have you got closure on the event? And she hadn't. And so what happened, we did one session. She literally came to my house. We did one session. And then she had her first like sports match of the season. She got player of the day. Okay, so she got player of the day in her team. She got nominated for, you know, each month in Australia, the league picks the best like 11 players out of the whole league. She made that team. So it's like the super team for the league. So that the sport's football, 11 players. And they monitor GPS on the athletes, and her total distance traveled was higher than the national average, and her speed per meter, so it's pretty much how much power she's exerting during that time, how fast she's moving over all those distances, was the highest out of the whole national team. So one session, removing this weight, this baggage, which is unconscious, which means she wasn't aware that it was there. Or she might have been aware, but she was focusing on so much other stuff, distracting herself, that she'd forgot it was there. And so that is the power of one, that's the power of what like trauma can do to us. It can stunt our performance to the point of her career, massive financial loss, but also her happiness, how she was showing up in her current relationship, everything. This one event had just rocked her so much that detriment across the board. And I know people can listen to this and look back, and a lot of people might feel like they're not good enough, or they might feel like, you know, they're a burden on others, or they might feel like, you know, they can't trust people. And all of these beliefs, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm a burden, I can't trust, all of these beliefs, they manifest with like lower quality of life, not so much success in life. And they're all created from past events. And once we get closure and wisdom on those past events, our success in life goes up. So the three things that really affect the success in someone's life is their values, their beliefs, and their any trauma, unfinished business. So that's what I work on. People don't really understand it when I say that, values, beliefs, unfinished trauma. So it's always good to paint a picture of how it plays out. When people have excuses, when people feel fear, it's not the fear. There's a belief or a thought behind the fear that's triggering the fear. And so it's all about fixing that root cause. So that's one example. And she got her contract back as well. So financially, her career took off again, and she, you know, she made the Olympic qualifier team. So fantastic woman, and she, you know, she did the work. She said, "I've got a problem, and I want to sort it out." And all of us need to do that, myself included, yourself included. We need to continue to look at our past, discover how we became who we are, and the bits of ourselves that we reject or that we judge within ourselves. We need to look at where that lack of self-love is coming from, fix it.
Yeah. Do you think, like, such a good example, and thanks for sharing, with that example, or just generalizing as a whole here, so we're not digging into specifically to this person, but when someone is having like an event like a breakup, causing so much trauma, and you're saying it's tied to a past event or something that's happened in the past, how does someone know that they need to dig further back, and how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, okay. So how do you know you need to? A lot of people don't know they need to. But the truth is that everyone does need to. And it will never, it's like a ball and chain or a weight that weighs us down. And we're always going to have that to some degree. We're a human being. We're going to have parts of our past that how can I word this? We're going to have parts of our past or parts of ourselves created from our past that we could judge within ourselves. And the burden just gets less and less and less and less and less. So there's someone listening right now, for example, and they just know that they feel like shit. They feel hard done by. There's something in the past. Maybe they lost a lot of money. Maybe someone was bullying them. They got talked shit about. And you know that when you think about that event, you feel shit. And you just know generally day to day you feel shit. Okay, cool, good, go do the work. Like, that's one symptom. A lot of people will drink alcohol, take drugs to fill a void of not feeling good inside. So everything we do in life is based on how we feel. For example, doing this interview now, the reason you're doing this is, will you tell me, and anyone listening, play along to the theme of this. Like, why are you doing this podcast?
Yeah, I've got a inner sense of duty. Like, I love coaching as well. So I'm a coach as well. I coach electrical industry, and I've always loved coaching. When I was in swimming, like I was swam at a national level as well, I used to love coaching the little kids. Like, I'd love that. Like, I felt fulfillment when I helped people get better. So when it came to business and I successfully scaled my business and I felt like I could help, then I wanted to do that as well. So when I saw this opportunity of this thing that's creating a central problem for the whole world, I just felt like I had to, reach out to people like yourself and get people to come and help everyone else. Because I think if we can everyone has their passion and expertise and the thing they love to talk about and their experience around that as well. So like you're sharing some experiences and some, principles and things that people have gone through to achieve, the desired result, which is getting back into the national team or becoming successful in business or whatever it is.
But those aren't actually the results people want. That's what they think they want. Mm-hmm. So for example, it's like, I want to be successful in business. And then if I'm like, well, why? They'll say, oh, so I have more freedom.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Why do you want freedom? It's like, it will just feel good. It's like, okay, so you just want to feel good. Well, yeah, I just want to feel good. Okay, cool. Same with the national team. It's like, why do you want to be in the national team? Because okay. Why would she want to be in the national team?
Lacking purpose.
Yeah. It's like that's what drives her. And if we said, well, why enough times, it would get to the point of like, maybe it's like, well, I want to feel important. I'm in the national team. I want to feel important. Okay, well, what does it mean, if you're important? Oh, well, I would just feel good. That will, anybody, when it's like, I want to earn more money. Why? You don't want money. Papers does nothing. I can give you a lot of paper now. And it's like, well, what are you going to do with the money? Spend it on a holiday. Okay, why do you want to go on a holiday? Because it will just feel good. And so when we understand that all we're ever doing is trying to feel good, that is what motivates us to eat freaking ice cream, or that is what motivates someone to start a business. It's the same thing. We're motivated by a feeling, a pleasurable feeling. And so a lot of people will take drugs, eat ice cream, smoke cigarettes, even exercise. It's to satisfy a feeling. But what vehicle do you use to satisfy the feeling? For you, it's podcast. It's contributing to others. And I would say that these are really, really great vehicles to use to be fulfilled, to fill up these feelings. Whereas some people choose to get drunk, hang around with the boys, smoke cigarettes, eat food. Is all you're ever doing is satisfying a feeling, and those vehicles aren't the best way to do it.
Yeah, I think with what you're saying there, I've been there too. Like, so filling the void there in that space and having that social feeling, but realizing that it's a toxic environment that I was in with those people, and it's sort of, that's just what, and it constantly reinforces and traps you in there. And I think a lot of people would feel that, like they feel they would lose their friends if they stopped drinking or they stopped taking drugs or they stopped smoking or whatever. It wasn't until I quit, like I don't drink at all, and I don't smoke and I don't take drugs now. But then as a result of that, when they're not even an option, like I've got all this time and energy and to help people with a full attention span. You know, I'm not distracted by things that suck you into a hole. So yeah, I think it's totally, man. Like I can see. I think people need to realize that when you've got substances or bad foods or whatever it is, like they're just a distraction to what you could be doing if you got rid of them.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And so, like, we talked about values and beliefs and trapped emotions. They're like the three things I work off. And this whole feeling cycle and, I want a business so I can have freedom, so I can feel good, that's values. Yeah. That's what values are. It's like what people are heading towards. Some people value, like, drinking and partying. And like I said, at the end of that is a feeling they're chasing. They're just choosing a vehicle which is destructive. And then I remember you saying just before, well, they're scared if they stop that, they'll lose their friends. That's where beliefs tie into values. So they believe that in order to have friends and have that need met, that connection met, they believe that they need to drink in order to do that. And until that belief shifts, they're going to continue to play the same pattern over and over and over again. That's why a lot of people try and fix the symptom, whereas this is why New Year's resolutions fail. They're like, I'm going to be fit and healthy, but underlying that behavior is an old pattern, which in order to shift, you need to get to the root cause, which is beliefs, values, trauma, trapped emotions.
Can we deconstruct those three things? So can we start with beliefs? So let's talk about beliefs. Like, how do people develop beliefs to the point where it becomes almost a burden on people's lives?
Yeah, so I'll point out two ways, and there may be more, but maybe I don't know. But I feel they fit into two categories. One is when you're young, or even now, you have a significant event happen in your life, something that is traumatic, and in that moment you make a decision. So, for example, a young girl is sexually assaulted, and she is like, men can't be trusted. So that's a belief. She then believes. So a belief is like a thought or an opinion, something that you hold to be true. It's not true for everyone, but you believe it's true.
Yeah.
And so, this girl then is like, for the rest of her life, believes that men can't be trusted. And obviously that's going to mess her up for a lot of relationships until she overcomes that initial belief. What's one? So that's one way they're formed. The other way they're formed, if it's not like a major event, is through repetition. And it starts again during that imprinting phase of watching what your parents do. And then, maybe your parents fight all the time. You would then form some sort of belief that was normal. That, if a lady yells at you, you smack her in the face. So that would be you forming a new belief. And they don't always have to be negative. You can form really good beliefs. Like, when dad gets home from work, mum and dad kiss by the door and hug. Like, you would then start to form, it's called a model of the world. And so you believe that to be normal. So it's really through our senses, seeing things happen, hearing things, maybe the other ones, feeling things kinesthetically, internally as well, feeling things. You're going to start to shape beliefs. And I always use it as an example, but at one stage most people believed in Santa Claus, and beliefs are supported by evidence. So if you ever want to change a belief, you have to have new evidence. So when it's Santa Claus, it's on all the cartoons you watch, it's in the books you read as a kid, your parents tell you. So your model of the world is Santa Claus is real, like no questions asked. Yeah. Presents turn up, the mince pies are gone in the morning. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where someone at school maybe says, Santa Claus isn't real. And that's the first time it's ever come into your awareness. And you're like, what? It's like, yeah, Santa Claus isn't real. It's just your mum and dad. It's like, that goes against your nervous system would not accept that. You would reject that idea. And then maybe someone else says it, and that's more evidence. And then you ask your parents and they're like, well, and then the evidence starts suggesting that Santa Claus isn't real. And then all the evidence stacks up, and then your beliefs changed. You've gone from, I'm 100% certain Santa Claus exists, to, oh my God, Santa Claus isn't real. I've been duped. And ultimately, that's all we have to do to change a belief, is dismantle the old evidence and support it with new evidence. And I also want to point out that beliefs are not, they're going to be in opposites. They're paradoxical. And a question I ask as well is, I would say put up your right hand if you believe, you should judge a book by its cover. No, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And then I'll ask, put up your left hand if you believe first impressions last. And some people have two hands up. Well, most people do. And the reason is I would have both hands up as well, because you shouldn't judge a book by its cover sometimes, and do first impressions last sometimes. So those thoughts or beliefs, although they're paradoxical, they're both true, given the context. So any belief we have, and a really powerful one for people is like, I'm not good enough. And that plays out in relationships when they might get, females might allow abuse to happen. Males might allow abuse to happen too, or become demasculated through, I don't feel good enough, I don't feel worthy, so I'm going to do anything I can to keep her. And all of these, it happens in business as well. You try and start a business when you don't feel good enough. You're an employee and you want to try and get a pay rise and you don't feel good enough. You're not going to walk into the office and be like, hey boss, I got this locked down. 100,000 a year, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like that, if you feel not good enough, there's no way you're going to have the confidence to do that. So almost every problem in life can really be tracked back to a lack of or a incongruent belief with what you're trying to achieve.
Totally. Yeah. No, that's so true. And like the repetition thing, I think, do you feel like the repetition thing's more important or more prevalent, I guess, in children because that's in that, that phase in their life, or is it something that can be developed as an adult as well? Because obviously as an adult, you've already got your beliefs of most things.
Yeah. So what's the question?
So in terms of trauma, trauma can happen in an adult and then all of a sudden, boom, like things have changed in you, like instantly. But repetition.
Can I say to everyone listening as well, it doesn't always have to be trauma for shit to change. For example, you had your child, all of a sudden your values shifted, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't always have to be trauma. It can just be something in your external environment shifts, which then causes you to, you see things differently, you see the world differently, and all of a sudden, if we went into your operating system of your mind, there would have been a shift in values.
Yeah, okay. Yep, sure. The question was, do you think it's less likely that repetition would happen in an adult rather than a child? For sure. Yeah.
As soon as the analytical mind forms, and you said it before, you're like, we pretty much have our beliefs, they're locked in. They really are. 95% of our day, we're just running off of what's already locked in there. And that mindset starts early teens. That's why teenagers are like know-it-alls, right? Because they get an analytical mind, which is their ability to analyze, their ability to critical think, and all of a sudden, any other opinion than what they've been programmed is not true. So they just think they know everything. That's why it's really important to continue educating, become aware. Like what you're doing now for anybody listening is fantastic. If anyone listening, what you're doing now, like reward yourself. This is growth. Because we are 95% habitual creatures, having the same thoughts, doing the same actions, in the same environment every day, we're just literally wiring the same neural pathways inside our mind over and over again. And the future will not change until you consciously slow down, consciously, moment by moment, have new thoughts and make new decisions. That's how change happens. If you're caught up in the day-to-day, you're screwed.
Yeah. I just want to combine a couple of things you've said. Like, in terms of feeling fulfillment, I definitely feel most fulfilled when I come back to realizing that everything I have right now in this moment is good enough, like is perfect. and anything else I get in the future is a bonus. And when I think like that, my performance goes through the roof, and I'm trying less. Like, I'm not even trying. I dial everything back. But then I fall back into my beliefs, which is I've got to win, you know, and I fall back into this hyper alertness, hyper activity, I guess, towards my goals. And so my continuous work is, it's like if I get distracted, then I'll fall back into the default, which is working way too much. So,
Yeah.
And I know so many people I've worked with have the same thing. So falling back to a default belief. So how do you go about maintaining the desired belief, I guess?
Yeah, I would say stress. Everybody goes, same in military, right? We go to our level of training, and so if our level of training, you know, what you would call default, is set at that, as soon as stress comes in, our capacity to, you know, be conscious and aware and awake is just, our IQ drops, everything drops. So can we avoid stress? No, we can't. What it's saying to me, and we'll use you as an example, is then there is a deeper value or a belief that needs to be shifted. Otherwise, as soon as stress comes on, you're just going to go back to what you call default. Now, dude, I'm the same as you. As soon as stress comes on, I will go default and I'll get caught up in the cycle, same cycle as you. What you said before that was so beautiful, man. And it was like, I feel totally fulfilled when you let go of expectations. And you said something. I'm going to show you this picture now. This is a post I wrote this morning. And can you read that?
If we looked at everything after we woke up as a bonus, how different would life become?
And the reason I thought that was kind of funny, because you just said everything after is a bonus. You're like, you know, everything I have now is perfect and everything after is a bonus. I truly believe that when we are in that state, and, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it, we're in a state of gratitude, attitude of gratitude, appreciation. It literally emits a frequency. And when we have our intent, and your intent is to be an amazing father, your intent is to, you know, have a sustainable business where you can spend more time with your family, that intent, it hasn't gone. That's still there. And so you can either have that intent and be in this appreciative state of fulfillment and gratitude. And like you said, you like, life's perfect and everything happens well. Or you could have the same intent, but be in this stressed, focused, drive mentality, and you'll find that things start to break down. I can only say this now because I've just stepped into this new space of not sacrificing my, you know, that appreciation, that fulfillment. I'm at the point now where it's like, take everything from me, and my highest value is to hold that level of fulfillment, hold that level of appreciation for life. Like I said, everything after waking up is a bonus. And I truly believe that, yes, there are going to be days where I get triggered and stressed and I default. The more I can practice this, the higher this comes up on my values list to stay at peace, to stay fulfilled. And I'm literally emitting that frequency. I believe I'm going to be more successful than if I was hustling, driving, grinding. So right now, and you know what, right now, I've started to increase my connection with God more, and I'm not religious. Like, this is a dude who used to shit on religion and God.
Yeah.
All I do know is that letting go, and I said that that's the theme for what people need to do during this whole thing that's going on now, letting go of expectations, letting go of resistance, of trying to force an outcome and allowing it to happen, which is the intent. That is the most powerful way. And I call it God, call it the universe, call it energy, but it's like there is peace inside us now in the present moment. Now, that doesn't mean your dreams and goals are gone. In fact, they're very, very clear. It just means we're not in a state of resistance. We're not forcing it. We're not fighting for it. We're allowing it to happen. And that is, I believe, where alchemy and magic happens in people's lives.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think also when we're talking about not pushing ourselves and grinding and hustling all the time, I feel like for years I was trying to figure out this mindfulness thing or this presence, and my wife is very, very there. She's very connected, very still, and I'm like outrageous. So she helps me develop that I need, and I love that in her. And I think that I couldn't figure it out. I was like, presence? Like, I don't get it. But I realized I was always in the future. Like, I was always living in the future. And that's why, I was always towards my next goal. And, that's when I realized when I let everything go, everything else is a bonus. That's when me letting go of the future. It's like, whatever, like future, whatever happens. And man, it feels good.
Yeah, totally. Imagine this, like, and I know you've got it pretty locked down now. If anyone listening, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, but you hop in a car and you want to drive to the beach. Like, that beach is the goal. That's the future. That's the destination. Now, you could hop in the car and you could be like thinking about the beach and questioning what you're going to expect when you get there and then what you're going to do after the beach, or you could enjoy the drive. Is the beach still the destination? Yes. But during that drive, like, you listen to music, you enjoy the fresh air. You might be having a conversation with someone and you're present with them. The destination is still the destination. The journey there is just so much more enjoyable. And do you know Alan Watts? Have you got into Alan Watts stuff?
No, I haven't.
It's a rabbit hole. He's like an old school philosopher. He's passed away now, but one of his metaphors is music. He's like, you put your favorite song on to listen to the song. You don't put your favorite song on to get to the end. Yeah. And he's like, why are people always rushing to get to the end of things? He's like, your life is a song. Enjoy the song.
So good. Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Yeah. Oh, man, so good. So, all right, let's come back. So, values. We've talked about beliefs and we've dug deep. That was awesome. So, values. So, let's talk about values.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a bit before. A value is something that is important to you. So, the highest value in society is family. So, I ask people all the time, what's the most important thing to you in life? Family. I'll get people to list the top 10 things and then put them in a hierarchy. And the reason a hierarchy is important is because once you've fulfilled your highest value, you'll then move on to your second highest. And this is how we make decisions. So, for example, if someone valued health and someone valued family. This is just an example, people. So if you're listening, don't shoot me if it doesn't apply to you. But if health was your highest value and family was your second highest, and you had an opportunity in your life to, do a retreat or go and do something healthy, or you had an opportunity to go and hang out with your family for a week. If health was your highest value and family was second, your personality would naturally choose health. Okay. If your family was first, health was second, both things are still important to you. It just means when you're faced with a decision, it's like, go on the retreat for a week or go with my family, I'll go with family. And that's values in a nutshell. But if we go, so they're called means values. So a means value is something, it's a means to an end. And as we talked about earlier, an end value is a feeling. So it's like, I want to be healthy. Well, why do you want to be healthy? Because I feel good. Well, family is important to me. Well, why is it important to you? Because I feel good. I feel loved, connected. Cool. So means values are what we think is important. End values is the feeling we're chasing. And then we can have values that we move towards. So a feeling we're moving towards, like love. Okay. And we can also have away from values, which are feelings we move away from. So it's like fear is a good one right now. So it's like, and they can conflict. I'm just going to say this now. Values to teach takes days by itself.
Yeah.
So this is just a quick overview. But what stops people from taking action is when they have values that don't align. And what I mean by that is, I'll just speak about myself. It's like, okay, I want a relationship. I want to be in a relationship with someone because I want love. I want connection. Okay, they're the end values. But I don't want a relationship because I'm scared of commitment. Because the end value is like the fear of losing something, the fear of losing my time. And so, it's like, well, in that case, if someone wants a relationship, they want to go towards a relationship, but they're scared of commitment, that person will really struggle to make a clear decision with what they want to do in their life. So if anybody is ever confused, and if you're listening, if you've ever had confusion of what to do with your life, it's because you haven't gone through your values and you don't know what's the most important to you.
Yeah. So with that you just said, so you compared love and relationship with time, but I feel like your time is like, because time moves to, like, is enabling you to do something like contribution or something like that, which is the higher value one. Is that right?
Well, there's different ways. So there's three main ways values can not line up. They can either be like the first one we said was like health and family. You could get to a junction in your life and you'll be like, do I go to the health retreat or do I go to family? And both are important to you. And if both are important, people might feel torn. They're like, what do I do? Do I go to the gym or do I go to family? And so that can keep people stuck because they literally are paralyzed trying to figure it out in their head. So that's one way. The second way is when you, for example, if we had the same values, health and family, if we went, okay, family, okay, I'm going to go to the family thing. But I don't want to get stuck talking to this person. And last time we had the family, there was all these things going on. So that, again, is a different type of value that's going to screw you.
Yeah.
So you're moving towards family for the connection, but you're moving away from family because of the drama.
Yeah.
So that's another way you can be screwed. And they're the main two. So that's a towards and away from. They're both towards values. Okay, so we'll just say there are two. Yeah, there are really, really two ways. Mm-hmm. Two ways. Yeah, so if anybody's ever confused, it's values work. You need to spend a couple of days.
Spend some time writing down your values in order. And I think people need to be careful not to do it by society's expectations of what your values should be. Do it to you and be honest with yourself. Do you agree? Yeah.
And there are ways. There are like backdoor ways to do it. So that when you do it, you kind of trick yourself and the truth comes out. I'm not going to say how to do it, but there are ways. But you're absolutely right. If a lot of the time, if people overthink it, they're going to write down what they think they should be writing, not what's true to them.
Yeah, and there's that feeling like you're not being fulfilled. Like you're not fulfilled in yourself if you've put society's values above your own wants and needs. And I think once you give yourself that fulfillment, then you can be the best human you can be back to your family or your friends or whatever. For instance, health and family, the junction you talked about, depends on how unhealthy you are. You know what I mean? If you're really unhealthy and going on the health retreat would result in you being a better human for the rest of your life, and now you can spend time and attention and energy with your family as a result, man, go on the health retreat. But talk it through with your family and make sure it's the right decision by everyone. Yeah, totally, man. Cool. So this is the crux that we want to talk about now, and it's the trauma piece. So trauma, we sort of started on it. So we started, so there's the time, just to recap, I guess. So there's the repetition, and then there's the events. So that can shift. So is there anything else you'd like to add? Because we have already talked about this one.
Yeah, I mean, trauma underpins the lot, really, because beliefs are shaped during traumatic times and values are shaped during traumatic times. So it's the big one, and it's the one that nobody likes to do. And especially men, which I'm imagining a lot of your audience is. Nobody wants to sit down with, I don't know, another bloke or a girl and cry and look at the past and have confronting conversations that are emotional. The masculine energy is more logic-based than feeling-based. And honestly, I truly believe it's why on average men die younger, because they don't deal with their trauma. They just bottle it up.
Yeah.
And the health, this is, I guess, my area where I'm moving into is how the trauma inside affects our energetic field. Like we're energetic beings. We're beings of light, literally. And when we have trauma, that energetic field is diminished. And when we have trauma in certain places, this might sound crazy, but places in the body, we store it, the energetic field in that place shrinks. And that's when we start to get chronic diseases and illnesses, is when we've got no energy to fight, and our cells literally contract instead of expanding. So I truly believe it's why men suffer is because they don't heal trauma. But it's honestly, it's the most beautiful, and it's the most, if you're a man and you can honestly, without your ego saying everything's perfect, because that's what normally happens, but truly just be like, yeah, I sometimes I do have negative thoughts go through my head. Sometimes I do feel like fucking shit and I can't really pick why. Or even if I can pick why, it's like, okay, yeah, I feel shit and I know why. Cool, you don't have to be like that forever.
Yeah.
I've been a mess crying on the ground. I've done so much work with practitioners, with different types of trainings. And I tell you now, that ball and chain, once that weight is gone, you become free to do anything. You become free to love other people more, including your partner. You become free to go and get that pay rise you want. You become free to start a business. You become free as an athlete. And so the rewards to, being vulnerable, putting yourself out there, going to see someone, and it's not like it's not fun. My crew that I have for 12 months, like, we do the work, man. When we do our retreats, there are men and women crying, arguments. We're getting the trauma out, but fuck, we have it, like, the quality of life raises so much.
Yeah.
And your standards, your quality of living, everything rises, and so if anyone's listening, all I can do is encourage you and say, just, I've got your back, you've got their back. We'll come and support you on your journey. And yeah, there might be times, not going to, crying. We've been through that. We've done that. And fuck, it's the new world that is forming now, especially with this whole virus thing that's going on. People are going to wake up, and they're going to set themselves free from their past. It's just going to happen. So if you're hearing this and you're like wanting to speed up the process, then come and see one of us, because life gets way better.
Yeah. I'm actually concerned about, with all of these government restrictions on business and lifestyle, social distancing and all that. We're like, all right, we've got to save some lives, right? I get it. But I'm actually a little bit concerned about the impact this is going to have on people's mental state, their energy. There's going to be higher rates of all of the things that come off the back end of a bad mindset, right? Which you specialize in. So with, like you've just talked about, you need to work through this. So many men, especially, and women, but like men especially, like you said, don't want to admit they're struggling. So what do you have to say to those people?
Honestly, I would love to talk to anyone. And, if this counts as talking to them, it's like, hear it in my voice, hear the sincerity of, it's okay. I will support you. There are millions of practitioners out there that have hearts that are in the right place, that want better for humanity, that want you to win and you to succeed. And at the start, maybe just borrow a little bit of my belief in you, that you can break through whatever's holding you down. And there really is no shame in it. In fact, I really admire people that have the courage to say, I messed up. And if you believe that you're different, you're full of shit. I have heard it all. I've seen it all. You are not different. You've just had a past that hasn't served you well, and it doesn't always have to be that way. So, yeah, I mean, because I'm not there with you right now, just hear the sincerity in my voice, that there are people out there that want to help you with this, and I'm one of them, and I will support you through it.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, and why wouldn't you invest in your mind? I just don't know how people wouldn't spend the time and energy and money to invest in their mind, and with a better mind.
You said it before, like the consequences of not having a good mindset are everything. Whether it's, we've talked about it, every single area of life comes from not having a good mindset. And during this time specifically, every dollar that we've put into our minds, and that anyone listening has put into your minds, it doesn't matter what the economy does, that investment is still growing. It doesn't matter. So even though the economy goes down, like that investment like holds its value. And it doesn't matter if you lose your job. It doesn't matter what happens. Every dollar you put into yourself can never, until the day you die, be taken away from you. So it trumps any other kind of investment, like a squillion to one.
Yeah.
Because it's fulfillment. It's wholeness. And really that's the name of the game.
People are like, what should we invest in at the moment? What business opportunity? What shares? What this? What that? It's your mind, man. That's what we got to invest in right now.
Yeah. So like I'm running a wealth program next week, and a lot of the key teachings are mindset. Because here's the thing: I could give you the best investment strategy. Okay, go and put 30,000 into this cryptocurrency, and what's going to happen for you is fear. Fear is going to come up. Like, what if I lose it all?
Yeah.
So it's not the strategy. And there are so many strategies out there. And there are people that have a better idea and people have lesser idea, but no one knows. No one knows exactly what is going to happen. So no strategy is perfect. There is always going to be fear. So learning the strategy ain't going to help you. You need to invest in your mindset so that when you do get access to the strategies, you have confidence, you have faith, you have optimism. Otherwise, fear is what keeps everyone small. Doubt is what keeps everyone small. So you're right. Invest in your mindset. For everyone listening, invest in your mindset now. And for the remainder of your time on earth, you will make better decisions. You will feel better about yourself. And from those places, you can create an epic business, financial independence, amazing families. But it all stems from what's going on inside you.
Thanks, man. So you mentioned earlier some of the things that you had done. So the activities you've and the practices that you've gone through to achieve a better mindset. What are your top three things that had the biggest impact for you, just to wrap it up today?
Yeah, for sure. Reading books. I read a lot of books. That changed my life early on. So that was before I had any money. I read a book, and that book has led me to hundreds of thousands of dollars, one book. So that was me investing in me, and it paid off. And then coaches. I've got 3 coaches right now, and I have friends that are coaches, which I call up. So really I've got like 10 coaches around me.
Support.
And I can't do it myself. So I pay my coach 6 figures, which some people will think is a lot, to coach me. And then I have a spirituality coach who, I just spent a week in Costa Rica, crying, doing the stuff I was just talking about. So invest in books, invest in coaches. And books, coaches. I would keep going on the gain knowledge route, but I would also, knowledge is potential power. And we need to release that potential by taking action. So I would say also invest in making mistakes. That's what I would say. Because everything my coach teaches me is still conscious knowledge until I have either succeeded or failed, felt the pleasure of success or the pain of failure. That's when it gets wired into your nervous system. So unless we invest, I've even recently trading foreign exchange, I've lost money. And a lot of people, if they were new to it, would be freaked out and quit. And then I went back in and then, made a ton today. So invest money in failing, because that will teach you a lot.
Yeah, be okay with it. It's totally all right to fail.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Any final words that you want to share with anyone?
Just life is going to go by in an instant. I just know it. I just know it. And you don't have to take over the world, but each little part of yourself that you can love more and more through personal development work, through growth, the return on investment is priceless. So whether you come to me, go to you, go to anyone else, find someone who has got a really big heart and find someone who has produced results before and really do it. Just give it a taste, because once you get your toe wet, it becomes, I don't want to use the word addictive, but it really becomes pleasurable and beneficial. So there is so much love and abundance in the world. And even if you're a tradie and you're listening to it and that sounds a little bit girly, it's like, dude, it's a really fulfilling, enjoyable way to live. And, you know, if you still want to be a beast in the gym, fucking do it. If you still want to be a badass, you know, you there's that saying, I think it's Lao Tzu, maybe it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And, you know, I really live by that. You can still be a beast, but just get in touch with your feminine a bit more, for any of the masculine men out there. And